Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 7th, 2022 at approximately 4:39 a.m. PST. It is absolutely amazing to me how fast you can become more productive as you remove stress. Now, yesterday I was doing my best to try and to get things organized for the trip at the end of this month. And I don't travel well at the best of times. So as soon as I had it all straightened out, knew that I had the right paperwork and what have you to get on the plane, had the reservation sorted around, my whole stress level just completely collapsed. I've even got my cab booked for the end of the month when I've got to make the trip, complete with a wake up call. Now, when I talk about this issue of of really working with the people around you. Before I go any further on that thought, I return to this world for one primary reason, and that is to remind everyone in existence that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. To that end, I don't travel well at the best of times, so it's literally been through the travel agent I was working with, the cab company that I was working with, and the hotel people at the other end, of where I'm going to be staying, that I have managed to wipe out as much of the anxiety that I go through regarding travel because of these people that went way above and beyond their, if you will, job description. And this is the whole catch to working with people. Okay, I only follow three laws. Okay, those three laws are the karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. And that worked well. Don't pay attention to the fingers. Apparently they're not working right. Okay, but if you're in the industry of dealing with people, and rest assured, if you're in any industry that requires contact with people, you're in that industry. Do what you can. Realize you're asking people to spend their hard-earned money on your product or your service. It's the same thing if you are running a household. If you're striving to talk to somebody, you're asking them to hear your opinion, to hear your viewpoint. Otherwise, there's no conversation. Okay. And we've got to get back into this idea of sitting down, of actually talking to people, of actually listening. There was no thing when I was growing up that went, you were given one mouth and two ears for a reason. Okay. The more you pay attention, the more you listen, the more information you're going to pick up. And remember, picking up information or listening does not mean you're hearing you're hearing what you desire to hear. It means you're hearing what somebody else desires to say. And oddly enough, that translates into Christmas as well. Christmas is not a question of somebody tells you what they want. Okay, this is what I want for Christmas, so you go and buy it for them. No, no, no. In my opinion, that is not the way that works. Yes, give a list. Send your letters to Santa Claus. And no, you don't have to believe in Santa Claus. Okay. However, I find it fascinating that bearing in mind that, if we go back, Yeshua was a real person. People believe in him wholeheartedly. Santa Claus was a real person. Why not still believe in him? The kids got it down right. The children have got it down right. And some of you adults are absolutely on the money where it comes to understanding that when we're talking about gift giving, we're not talking about fulfilling somebody's spoken words. Okay, we're talking about giving people something that you feel they would enjoy or that speaks to them about how you feel about them. Okay, I've very seldom had a lot of money to my name. Very seldom. And unfortunately, where the money came in was when people, was when people have passed away that were close to me. Now, I intend on putting things right on that end for when I go. Because Lord knows you're not taking it with you. But these people that helped me out went way beyond the call of what their job description was. Okay. And, some of them I know the names too, some of them I don't. But as I said, the reality is that when you're dealing with people, treat them exactly the way that you desire to be treated. If you desire to be treated with respect, do so. Okay, my anxiety gets the better of me where it comes to some things. And unfortunately, as soon as my anxiety gets the better of me, my whole thinking process, like yours, goes on hold. Okay, but what you can't do anything about it at the time. That's pretty much a given. But what you can do is once you calm down, contact the people that you lashed out at, and quite seriously, take ownership for what you did. It's not a question of going, oh, it's my fault and I'm a miserable person because of it. It's a question of helping them understand, even though they may understand it personally. Okay, helping them understand that you know what you did was lost control and they were not the target. Okay, they were just the unfortunate victim of it. Now, this is not the same thing as what as these geniuses that come out and tell them. And like, I was sitting in the bar one day, right, and I heard this massive chap, and I'm guessing he was probably over the 6 foot mark, right? And he was with a girl. I don't know if it was his girlfriend or his wife or what the story was, but I'm sitting there at my table, and it just happened to be one of those days where my mouth went into gear before my brain ever caught up. Right, now bear in mind, I'm in a bar, I've been drinking, so has he been. And I hear this behemoth of a man look at his girlfriend and look at the woman with him and goes, "It's your fault I'm drinking." And he starts, yelling at her, and he's got his hand up, and all he's doing is pointing at her. It's like, "Your fault I'm drinking. You make me do this." And I'm just in one of these really weird moods, and I looked at him and I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Excuse me, but that doesn't make sense." He goes, "What doesn't make sense?" Well, you're trying to tell the entire bar that you are being held down, and she, who can fit inside of one of your pant legs by the look of her, right? She's holding you down and actually pouring alcohol down your throat, right? And he goes, "Well, no, that would be stupid." I says, "So is frankly telling people around the bar that she's why you're is responsible for your drinking. You're the one picking up the bottle. You're the one picking up the glass, pouring it into your own mouth. I'm not debating she may be the most difficult person to deal with, but she's not the one making you drink. Same as the people that I hear about, and I deal with these on a regular basis, unfortunately, where either the guy or the girl is beating on their partner, going, and they literally, it's in the middle of it. They're beating the heck out of them. And then I'm sorry, you're making me do this. This is absolutely ridiculous thinking. Okay. You know, when you're dealing with people, take responsibility for your own actions. You cannot control how other people are going to take them. Okay. You cannot guarantee that what you say is going to be received, is going to be understood the way you intend it. All you can do is do your best to say things or to do things in a fashion that you are content with. Now, have I made my mistakes? Absolutely. Did one a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I did one a couple of months back, I think. Okay. Where I made a comment that one of my videos got pulled, and I don't even know what the exact comment was. But I did bring to my attention this issue that people will misunderstand things. Because the reality is, where it comes to the medical profession, I've got my own issues with it. I've also got a medical body, like a body that does really weird things where it comes to medication. Not the least of which was the day I got diagnosed dead and shipped to the morgue. I didn't agree, so I left. Okay. Now, I'm pretty certain that the guy, if he's still alive, because he himself would have to be at this point somewhere in his late 70s, so he may not even be alive anymore. Considering that would be 54 years ago. Okay. Yeah, so he'd be in his mid 70s, I would suspect, at this point. But all you can do is take responsibility for your own actions, for your own works. You can now, you do have free will. You've got freedom of choice. And you've got the freedom to say whatever you will. But the reality is you don't have freedom from the consequences of what you say. Okay, so where it comes to dealing with people, you're going to have to deal with people. You know, there are a few of you that are, and of course, these people aren't listening to this at all, because there are a few people that are so off the grid, they don't have electricity. So much for computers. They don't have television. So much for the news. Now, that's not entirely a bad thing. At least not in my opinion. Of course, I haven't watched the news in, 20 years now, I think? Something like that. Primarily because I don't like it. Okay, it used to be, actually couldn't be 20 years at this point, because when I was still married, the news was on quite regularly. Okay, but since I got divorced back in 2008, I haven't, so that's, 14 years. I haven't turned on a news channel to watch the news since then, because I find it full of a whole pile of things. But politely put, I don't agree with a lot of a lot of facts they're talking about. Okay, this applies as well to the social media, which, by the way, is the modern news channel. Okay, it's not filtered by FCC regulations and what have you. It's just what people are saying, and that's the frightening part. Okay, because if we keep posting stuff that is simply talking about what people are doing wrong, okay, simply talking about how we are hurting each other, and how we're trying to erase history. Well, bad news for you people. I saw an absolutely appalling thing that is absolutely irreplaceable. Okay. Wonder if I can find the thing. I think it was just up here. Oh, that's the wrong. No, that is the right thing. There was more vandalism done just the other day. Okay. Where a set of ancient tablets were blown up. Now, why bother blowing something up? You know, when I was growing up, my dad had a really wonderful idea. Okay, we had a great big gravel driveway. So, in order to, I don't understand the entire reason he did it, but I was only 5, 6 years old when he started teaching, where I was starting to be included in the playing that Dad did. And he took us out in the middle of a gravel driveway, okay, that was so far away from any vehicles, any grass, and he taught us how fire works. Okay, but he always had, before we ever got started, he had the water right there. As Dad put it, safety first. Okay, so we got the enjoyment of taking a little. I remember taking a diorama I spent hours on for elementary school. I built a diorama of a little cabin in the woods. Okay, using real trees. I was going to say real wood. Well, it was real wood, but it was popsicle sticks. And I built it inside a cardboard box. Now, after it was done, and Mom and Dad had helped to make sure it got done right. Once it was done, and it was ready to pack, we were finished with the whole job. Dad took me out into the great big gravel driveway, right? And we set it down, and using match heads. Okay, and I don't even know if they exist anymore. Usually we've got lighters nowadays. By using match heads, we lit the thing on fire. Okay, and as we're sitting there burning it, Dad's explaining he explained how it was going to react first. Then we set this thing on fire at one end, and Dad explained how the fire was working. Now, I got my enjoyment of trying to burn things down. I remember my older brother, who has passed away now, took a plastic model, and filled it stem to stern with match heads. We took it out in the same gravel driveway, and lit the match heads on fire. I'll tell you, it was wonderful to watch. But it didn't do any damage to anybody's property. It was contained, the safety was first, but it never destroyed anything that belonged to anybody else. It wasn't a public display. I have never understood how people come to the conclusion that destroying these monuments, destroying these artifacts, is ever going to change the reality that they were there. Bad news to whoever actually blew this one up. There are countless photos of it, countless pictures of it. As far as I understand, there are rubbings of it, as in charcoal and paper or whatever they're using nowadays. So yes, the monument is gone, never to be returned. Kind of like many of the statues people in their brilliant maneuvers of trying to erase history have wiped out. Destroying the artifacts does not alter the fact they were done. It's kind of like if you treat somebody poorly. Destroying the evidence does not mean you didn't do it. It doesn't mean that no damage was done. Now, you take a look at that. I've turned around and gone, okay, I've been really caught up in things, and therefore I put off. I told you before, I'm a professional procrastinator. When the saying is, that never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. Well, I didn't even have that much patience. I just went, never do what you can put off. So net result, things got a little out of hand. Last month was expensive. But now, because of the effort that other people have helped me with actually calming down, with actually getting my stress under control. Like when I got really wound up the other day regarding this whole journey, right? I get really wound up, and somebody, unfortunately, they called me at the wrong time. So, of course, I come unglued, right? I was already wound up, and there was no way trying to talk rationally was going to work. So, the next day, I was talking to them again, and it was kind of comical because they sat down, like, I walked into their house, and the first thing out of their mouth was, sit down, you've had enough stress, just sit down, I'm going to grab, I'll get you coffee, but there's no way I'm having you stroke out again on me. So I was like, okay, how about if we don't? But it's that kind of effort. This is why surrounding yourself with people that do accept you as is critical, because you're going to require help from somebody somewhere. You may not want to admit it, you may not like admitting it, but the reality is you are you as nobody else. You're not perfect. You don't have the capacity to do everything you require, and as well as you necessarily like to. And one thing I will tell you, that there is not a soul on the planet that I'm aware of that can pull this one off. When you're striving to raise kids, when you're striving to deal with people, the one thing males cannot do, and females have the same problem on the reverse side, is you will never see the world the way, in all likelihood, the way that a female does. Now, you can claim to understand them. Same as females can claim to understand the way a male thinks. I'll tell you right now, ain't gonna happen. There are very, very few people that understand the way other people think. Sure, there's a lot of psychologists out there, there's a lot of psychiatrists that are trained. They're trained to understand people, they're trained to look at the bigger picture. Sad to say, what I've seen, that hasn't always worked as well as they'd like you to believe. But what I do know is that much as men and women think pretty much the same, what they don't do is they don't process it the same way in the strictest sense of the word. So when you're striving to work with people, realize, yes, children require a male and female influence. And for those of you that have this brilliant idea that you want to set of 50 some odd different genders, bad news. Life is really rough enough for kids to try and figure out with only having two genders. And you go and complicate it by going the way I identify, the way I think makes me a different gender. Bad news. But when you're dealing with kids, and I see this a lot in divorces. But it's kind of all tied together because people go, well, the kid needs their birth mother and their birth father. No, they don't. In my opinion, they do require a male influence, a primary male influence, and I'm talking about a good one. And they require a female influence, female role model. Now here's the thing: if you're two females raising a child or two males raising a child, that does not give you male and female perspective. You're still going to require, even if you hate males or you hate females, the child does not require learning about your hate, or about your disapproval of them. What the child requires is an interaction with a viable male role model or a viable female role model, one that will help them see them in a complete picture. Now, you don't have to agree with me. It's a good bet you won't in many cases. Quite often, and I find this even when you're talking about, when we talk about belief structures. Now, I only follow 3 laws. And I do encourage you to take a look at whatever laws, whatever guidelines, whatever commandments you're listening to. Compare them to the laws that I follow. And I do believe you'll find that every one of the ones that you follow falls under these 3. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. By doing that, what you'll find, is that all the ones you follow fit inside those 3. But we've got to work together. You're going to have to put aside your differences, and for pity's sakes, quit creating new ones. I mean, the stupid, and I do call this stupid, because you know better. And I'm not talking about any one of you specifically. I don't know which people are listening to this. But the stupidest thing I've seen done lately is some geniuses have come up with this idea of taking this idea of identify as a different gender and taking it to be into absolute stupid levels. They are now going, I identify as a cripple. I should have been born crippled. That's the way I feel. And they're mutilating themselves. Now, if you think that is any different than deciding that you're going to push this issue of you identify as a different gender, think about it. You're mutilating your brain intentionally. And the reason I say intentionally is I don't mind if people come up with this idea, so be it. It's like I don't complain about the pharmacies, pumping out poison. And I call it poison because of one thing. They will sit there and they'll tell you, here's what this thing will do for you. This is what this medication will do to help you. And here's all the ways that it will kill you or damage you in the long run. Please buy this. Now I'll tell you, if somebody tells you, buy this thing that's going to hurt you, and you go out and buy it, that's on you, not on them. It's the same as if you tell somebody to do it. The person that came out with the brilliant idea of trying the Tide Pod Challenge. Here is a laundry detergent. The thing is poison. We know this. And some genius came up with an idea of, gee, I'm going to try and eat this stuff and see how it works. And then I'm going to challenge you to do it. Now, I don't have a problem with people coming up with really bizarre ideas, but I'm not going to blame them for your choice to follow it. I'm not going to blame them for your choice to look at the world and go, this doesn't fit. Come up with the ideas you will, but quit blaming other people for you following them. Okay. I had a recent situation where I had investments. Well, I still got them. Okay, and they started to tank. Now, the thing with investments is they do come back. Okay, not as fast as you might like, but they do come back. Well, the reality is it was suggested by a very knowledgeable individual that I dump my investment. Well, technological complications ensued, and I never did actually dump the investment. Okay, but the side effect of that was my investment started to make a comeback. Okay, the very knowledgeable, very educated person that told me to dump my investment, they dumped theirs. Okay, now I don't blame them for that at all. They were trying to help, or they were trying to get. You may have been saying something to get somebody to experience something new. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're listening to somebody telling you to do that and to do something, absolutely take responsibility for whatever that is. If you're choosing to do it, yes, they told you, they may have told you several times. Okay, I was told by my parents several times, like my entire life, don't tell people what you do. Don't show people that you are working in the metaphysical field. I failed that miserably. I went into it professionally. Okay, you're responsible for your actions, for your words, but you are not responsible for anybody else's, and nobody else is responsible for yours. Okay, not on the whole. There are times where there are extenuating circumstances, but the reality is, you know, and by the way, the tool, and this is quite frankly a live recording. So absolutely, if you like the video, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and spread this message along. We've got to get back into this habit of talking to each other, taking responsibility for our own actions, for our own words. You do not have immunity. You don't have freedom from the consequences of your actions. You've only got freedom to think what you will. Okay. So from that end, now I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive. And of course, it's not going to shut up.